Welcome to the Money Made Human podcast. It celebrates at its heart the work of credit unions and their vital role in enriching our lives and communities. Brought to you by First Class Credit Union, each episode features insightful discussions revealing the meaningful impact that can be made through economic collaboration. Mostly, it's a collection of compassionate conversations about navigating life and the individual journeys we take. Hello, friends and members. Welcome to Money Made Human, a podcast by First Class Credit Union. We are delighted today to be joined by the Vice President of Governmental Affairs and Executive Projects from Georgia's own credit union in Atlanta, Georgia, Brandee Bickle.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. So what time is it in Atlanta just now?
Oh, it is 8:02 in the morning, and it is a beautiful fall morning here in Atlanta,
nice.
Georgia. So wish you were here with me.
Oh, same. We've got blue skies here today in Glasgow. So,
wow.
You know, and considering we're a few days away from October, that's unusual.
Enjoy it while we can.
So, Brandee, welcome. We're so glad to have you on the podcast today and really keen to find out more about your journey within the credit union, hear more about Georgia's own and what's going on there, and your hopes for the future in terms of the credit union world in America. So, and then we do have a few life and fun questions for you too. So, I wanted to start off, Brandee, by telling you a little bit about Money Made Human. We were inspired to build this, and part of that was our connection with Georgia's own. We've been partnered with Georgia's own for a number of years now, and I guess we've really been impressed by the humanness and the connection that we've had with you guys. And we recently were able to travel with you to the World Forum for Credit Unions in Stockholm. And we came back and we thought we want to put some of this humanness on record for our members, to let them see what goes on in the background behind our credit union. So thank you for the input that Georgia's own has had to that. And I wanted to start off by asking, and for any of our members listening that haven't been to Georgia or Atlanta, what's it like? What's Atlanta like? What's Georgia like as a state?
No, well, before I answer your question, first and foremost, thank you for giving Georgia's own kudos and credit, but your podcast, First Class, this is all you. I am so impressed with all of the ideas and the work that your credit union does. It's inspirational, not just for me, but for our entire credit union, and is what fuels our partnership. So I'm tickled and honored to be on the podcast. What Georgia is like. So I'm a lifelong Georgia resident. I grew up in the northeast corner. Yeah. I grew up in the northeast corner of the state. It's very rural, where the chickens outnumber the cow. I mean, they outnumber everybody, cows and people, and you name it. But Georgia is interesting, and Atlanta is interesting because Atlanta is a huge city. And don't ask me how many people, because everybody says they're from Atlanta, but there's Atlanta proper, and then there's all of the cities and towns around Atlanta that have been enveloped in with all of the growth. But you have this huge hub. If you've flown through Atlanta, you know what I'm talking about. It's just a mass of people, a mass of humanity going back and forth. But then if you travel outside of Atlanta, it comes across as very rural or very agricultural, or you have a lot of military-based towns. You have the ports, you have Savannah. If you haven't had a chance to travel to Georgia, Savannah should be on your bucket list just for the history there. It's a really unique place, but the people are different as well because they're very proud of where they're from. But they're also very humble about it too, and I think it's very refreshing to be around people who just want to do what they believe in their heart is best for their communities. And it's and I know this won't translate because football means something different in the UK than it does in the States, but college football, American college football, is a religion in Georgia. So you do not do anything during the fall season on a Saturday if it does not involve college football. So that's a very quick rundown of what the people in the state are like, but happy to answer any questions.
What's the home team in terms of college football? Is there one that's very much supported?
Yeah, so Atlanta is Georgia Tech, but the entire state is much more University of Georgia. It's a very large school. I went to my undergraduate there, but you've got a lot of good programs scattered around. There's Georgia State fans, there's Georgia Tech fans, you name it, but UGA is definitely the powerhouse in the state from a football perspective. Well, from like your grandparents on down. Oh, I know, from grandparents on down. They're Georgia.
And also, Atlanta's the home of Coca-Cola. You know, phenomenal.
I know. And I am embarrassed to admit I have never been to the Coca-Cola Museum, but I have heard it is fabulous. And I've heard all the different types of Coke that you can try there just blow your mind. So I'm embarrassed to say I haven't been, but I haven't been. So.
Brandee, we were really lucky to be able to travel to Georgia a couple of years ago. And one thing that struck me about the communities there and the people that we met, and it reminded me of Glasgow, in that there was such warmth from the people, such friendliness, such care. And I felt that there was a real common purpose or spirit.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. When I was in Glasgow for the World Credit Union Conference, when you and I first met, we met, but when we first got to spend time with each other, I loved getting up early in the mornings, getting some coffee, and just walking the streets of Glasgow around the hotel while the city woke up, and everybody that was on their way to work or cleaning up from the night before, it was that warmth, it was that connection, it was that personal I see you and I care about you kind of perspective that I loved. So I agree.
Yeah, so much humanness in both cities for sure. Tell me about your journey to working with Georgia's own Brandee. What has that looked like for you?
Yeah, no, good question. So I've been in the credit union industry in the state of Georgia for over 25 years now. My first almost 20 years were at the State Trade Association for Credit Unions. So in the U.S., we have our National Trade Association, multiple different trade associations, and then we have our different states have their own state trade association. So I worked for the state. And I fell in love with the industry very quickly. I fell in love with what credit unions do for their members, how they help their members thrive, how they help their members achieve their financial goals. And I stayed with the industry knowing in my heart that this was where I was meant to be. After almost 20 years, I shifted in-house to Georgia's Own. They were a credit union that I had worked with, at the trade association for years and years, and I had a lot of respect for them and how they view the world and view possibility. And it's been a really good fit. I've been able to continue governmental affairs. I do work at the federal level, at the state level, but I also do a lot of executive projects work, which is a big fancy word for the strategy arm, and I get pulled into different areas and different projects and able to help influence what we as a credit union and we as an industry do and how we show up for our members. So it's very rewarding, and I'm very fortunate to have the career that I've had.
There's so much I want to ask you on the back of
Oh,
that,
ask away.
Just for context, how big is Georgia's own?
No,
What's the scale we're talking about?
no. So we have 4.2 billion US dollars in assets. So somebody on your team needs to do the math for me, on what that would equate to. We have and we serve 240,000 members. What makes Georgia's own a little unique in the credit union space for Georgia is we have branches spread out all over the state of Georgia. So remember when I was talking about how different the state is? Well, depending upon where you live in the state, you might have different needs, or you might need different financial products, or you may want to just go into the branch, or you don't want to go into the branch. You just want to go to the digital app. So it's meeting people wherever they want to be met is something that we do every day, and thank goodness for our team, because they do a great job of it.
So you're of huge scale compared to First Class. We're tiny, teeny, tiny compared to that. But it's interesting, what came across there is that point about serving your membership.
Mm-hmm.
That comes across really strongly. And Brandee, in terms of the work that you alluded to, the governmental affairs part of it, how do you cope with that in terms of the diplomacy required and meet the needs of the credit union and meet the needs of the members? How do you juggle all of that together?
No, excellent question. And I think it probably helps a lot, Gayle, that I grew up in the credit union system the way I did and falling in love with it the way I did. Because seeing that firsthand and seeing credit unions, not just my credit union, but credit unions all over the state and country, and your credit union, how you show up every day, mm-hmm. how you are there for your members, how you sweat, bleed, and cry to get things done so that it works well for your credit union membership. That deserves a voice. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is what drives that diplomacy. That's what drives my work, because if you don't give that a voice, then how do people know mm-hmm. what's important to you from a legislative perspective, from a regulatory perspective, from just a public perspective? So I view what I do is I give voice to the work that we do for our members, and share information so that the people who make the decisions that impact how we serve that member can have a full picture. So that's probably as delicate as I could put it.
We're not a political podcast, but I think it would be remiss of me to say what it looks like from the UK just now is that you are coping with so much change and news at this time, and I just wondered what that's like for you as a leader, to come in and perhaps legislation's changed or there's a different agenda. How are you being agile to that?
No, good, excellent question. You have to be very nimble. I think the word you used was agile. Like, you need to have that muscle developed, and not lose sight of your focus, your guiding light, which is that member. For me personally, though, Gayle, I grew up in a community banking family, so I'm the only credit union person in my family. And when I say I grew up, my grandfather was in community banking. My father finished his career in community banking. My aunts and my uncles, yes, I'm the black sheep of my family. But I remember my grandfather and my father one time when I was young, and we were visiting them down in South Georgia. And my grandfather was lamenting on how much the world had changed from a financial regulatory standpoint. And this was probably 40 years ago, Gayle. And I saw him at that point slowly but surely descend into retirement and not want to continue doing what he had done for his entire life. And then I saw the same thing with my father when he became close to retirement, and he lamented how much the world had changed and how quickly financial regulations were shifting, and you know, the consumer demands and doing what he did, it just changed so much. And he reflected at that point saying, I remember when my dad felt this way. And so I told myself, if you ever sit there and only see the negatives and only see all of the burden that you're trying to dig through so that you can show up for your members, then that's when it's time that you need to hang it up, right? Because the world needs people who can see the negative for what it is, or see the challenge for what it is, but also see the opportunity. So I've told myself there's going to come a day where I'm going to say, oh, it's too much. I can't handle it anymore. And that's okay. That's okay, because the next generation will be ready to step in too. But that's the little voice that always shouts at me in the back of my mind when I'm trying to figure out how to navigate a new, not even navigate, how do I explain to my credit union management the change and what we need to be aware of. So that's my guiding light too.
It's interesting though when you talk about your grandfather and your father and their journey, and perhaps change is inevitable as well. That's part of life.
Yeah.
With your grandfather and father, do you think some of their kind of community involvement and passion has crept into your psyche?
100%, Gayle. You would giggle. I'll only tell you two little short stories. I remember being maybe 6, and my cousins and I was the oldest cousin, so you can imagine all the little tiny kids being trotted in to see my grandfather in his office, helping the customers in Tifton, Georgia, which is a small city in the, well, not small, but a city down in the south of the state. And then I remember being a teenager in my eating dinner, and my dad would have somebody from that he was trying to help, and he was trying to teach them financial literacy and how to budget so that you can get ahead in life. And I remember sitting there eating, going, why are we eating with this person? But it was just what we did. And so flash to today, it's funny and it's ironic, and it's amazing how life really does have a pattern and has a grand design that you just don't see when you're swimming in it.
It comes full circle almost, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Would I suppose, just before we go on to talk about credit unions, would they be proud of you and the work you're doing?
I think so. In the States, and I don't know if this is true in the UK, but in the States, there's such noise at the federal level between banks and credit unions. But at the end of the day, there's room in our market for both. And I think having both makes a better environment for the consumer, because they have choice and they have competitive options. And I think even if you got past my grandfather and my grandmother and my aunts and my uncles, like hardcore, banking, view of credit unions, I think they would be proud.
Of course.
Yeah.
Just talking of that and credit union usage in the States, it's far greater than we would see in the UK. Why has that happened? Why are credit unions used a lot more in the States compared to the UK?
I love this question, Gayle, because if you asked that question to credit unions in the US, they would think, oh, we don't have, good market penetration. We struggle with brand awareness and getting people to understand that credit unions are there and that they're an option, and that they exist even sometimes. So I think it's all on perspective. because our industry, I think as a whole, is always looking like, oh goodness, we could help more, right? Like we could help more. I think looking from the positive perspective, I think having a variety of credit unions in the space working and collaborating together, they've been able to help move forward some awareness initiatives, and get just the general population aware of what being a credit union member is. But it's slow, and it takes a lot of time, and I every market's different, and I think every market has its challenge, and I think we could have this podcast 20 years from now, and we would sit there and probably say the same thing, and we could be like grown to the hilt, but we'd be like, oh, but we need to have more. And I think that's a good thing, because there's more people to help.
It's the passion, isn't it, to keep serving?
Yeah.
What are your members or consumers coping with just now? And in the UK, we're on the back of a cost of living crisis. We're seeing the price of groceries really kind of baked into costs now, and it has been a struggle. It has been difficult. I don't know, what are you seeing? What are your members facing at the moment?
Yeah, Gayle, I think you could be speaking about Georgia. I'll only look at it from the Georgia lens. Consumers as a whole are trying to stretch their dollar more. They are trying to make ends meet. You have families. One of the initiatives that we have here at Georgia Zone, and I know you guys are very passionate about your philanthropy work as well, is the feeding kids in between school breaks, because there's a lot of people that are food insecure. So how we lean into that and how we try to support that and alleviate that need. But it doesn't remove the fact that people are struggling, and they are trying to figure out how to make it work. And beyond the financial, I think consumers probably all over the world have this, I won't say struggle, it's something we're all living with. We are post-COVID. And we all went through COVID together, and we all went through that period of time where we were, I don't know, maybe a fair amount in shock of, okay, what's going on, and what does this look like, and how should we show up? Well, now we're all collectively living in the aftermath of that, and I think some of us are still walking around with a fair amount of PTSD of, okay, I don't want to go back to just being here, or, well, what happens if the rug gets pulled out from underneath me? And I think that's where credit unions can really be helpful, by taking the challenge of, what do I do about the future? And lean into, okay, well, here's how you save for this, or let's help you with this product. And I know you guys do a lot of that, to just help people see towards the next step. And I think the more consumers can get to the next step, the better we all will be.
Just on that, Brandee, what kind of messaging would you give to your population just now in terms of why Georgia Zone is a good option? Why we're asking the same question here, and we're saying to our population, choose us, come and choose us as a financial institution, because we can help you and we can do good. Is that something similar to what's going on there?
No, I 100% agreed. We have a mission and vision of banking on purpose. And what that means to us at Georgia Zone is showing up every single day, regardless of your role, and making sure that whatever you're doing is in the best interest of the person in front of you, that member, and letting that member be the focus. And when you look at that through the lens of your entire membership, so what decisions are you making as a credit union? What products are you offering as a credit union? How do you lean into that? I think it's a real challenge, not just for us or you. it's for all credit unions to sit there and go, okay, well, how do we articulate that in a way that resonates with a member or a potential member and helps them understand what it is we are. And for me, that message, if I had a magic wand and I was marketing, which I'm not, is leaning into the co-op message, because that's what a credit union is. It's a not-for-profit financial cooperative, and leaning into that, I think, could help bridge that gap of understanding for consumers that may sit there and look at the name and not really know exactly what it is that we do, or think that we're there for them, because in reality we're here. And you guys knock it out of the park serving your members, so you could be teaching a class on this yourself, Gayle.
Listen, we're trying, but I think it's so similar to the money made human concept that we're kind of approaching, in that we want our members to feel like they're important, that they are meaningful to us. And I suppose that leads back to that mutual piece, the cooperative piece. And I think just now, whilst we're all connected on social media and online, more than ever, we need to feel really connected and valued. Do you think?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to feel like they matter, and they do. But it's hard in today's world. There's no way I could have grown up in the social media world. I can't imagine being a child and having all those pressures. But at the end of the day, it's what you talk about, the money made human. Everybody needs to feel and wants to feel that they matter.
No, for sure. What are the hopes for the future in terms of Georgia's Own? What are you guys focusing on with your members? What's important to your members over the next year or so?
Now we're really focused on helping them succeed and helping each of the areas of the state and beyond have the tools and have the products and services that they need to thrive. From my personal perspective, Gayle, what I'd like to see with that also, and what I think is a looming challenge for a lot of consumers out there, is to realize the importance of deposit insurance. When you think about your payment apps, and I use payment apps too, I love them, but you want to make sure that as you're saving for the future, that you're doing it in a pragmatic, secure way. And I think that's something UK credit unions, US credit unions, and banks, for that matter too, often have an unsung, unflashy, really differentiator right there for consumers, because you can't control what happens in the world, but you can control where you put your money. And let's make sure that we put our money in a place that's safe, secure, sound, and has my best interests at heart. So I think that's huge, and that's what we're doing from a credit union perspective in Georgia.
And I guess that's where the regulators really help us, in fact, because they give us that framework which produces a safe environment for our members. And you work closely with your regulators in the US?
We do. We're very big on communicating our issues and developing that relationship, so that we can sit across the table and understand what it is that's needed and what it is that we should be doing, and lean into that so that the consumer at the end of the day is the one that wins, and our members are the ones that win.
It's so good to kind of share this journey with you, Brandee, and with Georgia's Own, because we have such common ground in helping our members. And I here's to success over the next year or so in terms of growing that membership as well.
Agreed.
I've got so many great questions from our team, Brandee, if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, please.
So they're numbered 1 to 6.
Okay.
What would you like to go for?
Ooh, let's go for number 4.
Number 4. It's a tricky one.
Okay, I can't wait.
What's the best risk that you've ever undertaken?
Ooh, professional or personal?
Either. I think either.
Okay. Professional. When I was at the State Trade Association, I had been there for almost 7 years. I had worked in HR, Gayle, and I was comfortable. Right? I was very good at what I did, but I was comfortable. And our CEO back then asked if I would be, well, really ask what I think about it, but I got nudged to be in governmental affairs. I am not political. It was the most foreign thing for me. And I sat down with the senior VP who was over the area, and we talked through what that could look like, what that would mean. And the question came up on why was I interested? Why did I want to do this? And I said that I was terrified of it, that it was a huge risk for me because I had a career path that was going in a particular direction, but I didn't want to, I never wanted to do something. I've got too many negatives in the sentence, but I didn't want to do something because I was afraid. And I wanted to take that leap. So that was the biggest risk for me because it could have backfired tremendously. But once I got into it, I realized that it's the same thing as HR or anything for that matter. It's interacting with people and getting them to hear you and helping influence what it is that they do and making sure that your message gets out there. So that was my biggest risk on a professional basis.
On a professional basis.
Yes.
Give me another number.
Ooh, let's do. So that was 4. I'm going with number 1 now.
Number 1. Oh, this is nice. This is good.
Oh, good.
When have you been the most proud of yourself?
Ooh. Oh, Gayle, this is a hard one. I struggle with self-doubt, probably the same as everybody else.
It's all of us.
I throw it out there a lot more than everybody else. So you're going to know how I feel. There was a moment in my husband and our relationship with each other where we decided that we were going to get into sprint triathlons. I'm not athletic. I'm terrible at running. I'm mediocre at best at swimming, and biking is just horrendous. So we did those for, I want to say 2 years. And when I would do them, Gayle, people in the race would go, "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you need to stop?" It was that bad. But finishing those made me so proud of myself because it took so much training and so much effort and so much facing your failures every day and your weaknesses every day and then still doing it. So once I did that, I was like, you know what? If you can do that, and I don't want to go back to doing that, but if you can do that, you can do anything.
My goodness, one of those disciplines on their own, never mind a triathlon. Wow.
I was terrible, Gayle.
It sounds terrifying. Just going back, you mentioned your dad and grandfather earlier.
Yeah.
What were their names?
So my dad is still living. His name is Wayne.
Wayne.
My grandfather, who passed away years ago, he has a very southern name, but he went by L.A. And it took me forever as a child, to know what L.A. was, but it was Lisha Alfred. So that's a very old school southern name that you probably never
I
hear.
love it.
But Lisha Alfred.
So answering that same question under their eyes, so in terms of Wayne and LA, what would they say would be your proudest moment?
Oh, yeah. So my grandfather, so I sit on the NACUSO board, And the NACUSO is the National Trade Association for CUSOs, which I think is just getting off the ground in the UK. I'm a huge fan of CUSOs. I think that's where credit unions can do a lot of cooperation. Yeah,
that's collaborative. Credit unions work together.
Yes. Thank you for making it. Yeah, thank you for explaining it. I sit on that board. We just had our strategic planning. We hosted it here at Georgia Zone. And I was sitting in the room, and while it's just people talking about what they want to see in that organization and where the vision and where we should be going, that influencing things on the national level, I think my grandfather would be very proud of. My dad, I can answer this verbatim for him. I went back to school, Gayle, late in life. As a 50-year-old, I decided I'm going to get my MBA, and it was not for the weak or the weary by any stretch. But I had my parents come to the graduation along with one friend, and I think that was probably the proudest moment for my dad. Just being there and being a part of that moment, and then I gave the speech for the class at that, and that was the first time my dad ever heard me speak publicly. It's the first time my mom and my husband heard me speak publicly too, but you could tell I think that was the proudest he's ever been.
Nice.
It was a nice moment.
Love that.
Yeah.
Give me one more number, Brandee.
Oh, so we did 1 and we did 4. So I'm going to make it, let's do number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah. And my light just turned off. There we go.
Well, this is a...
I'm going to have to thank somebody for this one. Oh, correct.
I think to be politically correct, you may have to insert your work in here somewhere, but it's...
Okay.
It says, describe your perfect day.
My perfect day. Ooh. So I love to be outdoors. And I grew up in Athens, Georgia, which I know, and home of University of Georgia. I think my perfect day, Gayle, would be something very simple. Maybe on a fall day like today, walking around, maybe getting my hair done. That would be nice. And going to a place called Memorial Park in Athens, which is where they take a lot of animals that maybe have wandered into areas that they shouldn't, like bears or an eagle that had gotten hurt. And they have them there where you can walk around and see the otters. And it's very low key. It's very chill. It's free, to the public. And one of my first memories of a child is actually walking through that place. But having no agenda, no to-do list, no meeting that you're going to, and just spending time with my husband and talking about nothing, and walking around in the outdoors and looking at some bears wandering around or some otters. That would be my perfect day.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
we're doing a lot of work here about the importance of getting out and going for a walk.
Love it. It.
And we've invited all our members to come along to a dawn walk in October. So it's so important to get outside and get away from the tech.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. I can't wait to see. You guys do an awesome job on all of your social media, and I cannot wait to see it because it'll be impressive.
What we might do is invite Georgia Zone to that, and you can do it in Atlanta.
I will be there. I will do it.
One last question. It's not on our list here, but
okay.
It was a question that someone asked me earlier in passing. In the UK, when you retire, so when you get to, I think it's 65 now, you get free transport on buses and trains.
Nice.
And the staff member had asked me to ask you, do you have something like that in Georgia or in the States?
I love that idea. We do not have anything like that in the States. We have Social Security, which is an amount depending upon, and then health insurance after you hit a certain age. But the idea of having well, you guys have such better public transport than we do in the States. But the idea of having that, I think that could be really, you've given me something to like work on and insert into conversations, because I think that could be a lot of fun from a retirement perspective, so that you don't stay in one place, that you do explore, that you do continue to go and get out and make that connection and feel human, like your podcast.
It's interesting that a group of credit unions in England, they've got together to do some enhancements on that. So they've tried to bring it in for younger people as well that might need free transport. So, but it was just a thing in passing I wanted to check with you.
No, I love it though. It's a lovely idea. Wish we had it here.
And now we're going to do a Would You Rather quiz, Brandee.
Ooh, okay.
It's a UK versus US edition of this.
Okay, I'm ready.
There's a couple of topical sporting questions in it. So, and they're quick fire.
Okay.
On sweets, Hershey or Cadbury?
Ooh, Cadbury.
Atlanta or London?
Oh, London.
Atlanta or Glasgow?
Oh, I have to say Glasgow because you're there. I'm going to say Glasgow.
I'm going to say, so you're a football, so NFL, football or soccer?
NFL. Don't boo me. Don't boo me.
Country or pop?
Oh, pop.
Coca-Cola, which we've just talked about, was born in Atlanta, versus a Scottish soft drink equivalent, which we call Iron Brew.
Okay, so I'm going to fill you in on something Southern really, really fast. So in Georgia, and this is very regional, the rest of the country doesn't do this, everything is Coke. So if it was an Iron Brew, we would say, I'm going to get a Coke. What kind of Coke? Oh, I'd like an Iron Brew. So everything is Coke. So I'm going to answer that question as Coke.
I love that. Watching TV or our podcast, Money Made Human?
Oh, you know what? I don't watch TV. Well, I struggle. I struggle with TV. I would say we will do our podcast.
Thank you, Brandee.
You're welcome.
And then I've got 2 sporting questions for you.
Okay. All right.
Given what's going to be on TV over the next few days. So you have one of the best golf courses in the world, Augusta. And we have St Andrews, the home of golf. Are you going Augusta or St Andrews?
I have never been on the Augusta Nationals course. I'm going to pick Augusta because they have pimento cheese sandwiches
and great cocktails.
So I'm going where the food is, Gayle. I'm going where the food is.
And then over the weekend, we've got a huge golf tournament. The Ryder Cup starts on Friday. Europe versus USA.
Oh, I'm going to defer to the home team. I'm going to defer to the home team. I'm going to be gracious and, go Europe, go whoever's playing, go. So you can tell I don't watch a lot of golf, so don't be there either.
We'll go for the home team as well.
Okay.
Brandee, thank you so much. It was so nice to speak to you, find out more about you. We really want to try and get to the heart of the great people that are working in the credit union sector globally, believing that credit unions can enrich lives globally, and we think they can. And we've so much common ground with you guys in Georgia Zone. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to answer all of our questions. We love you.
Oh, I love you right back. Thank you, guys. This has been an honor and a treat, and a best way to kick off my morning. It's 8:45 here, in Atlanta, Georgia, and I cannot think of a better morning. So thank you, Gayle. This has been special.
You are most welcome. Thank you, Brandee. Thanks for listening to the Money Made Human podcast. We're grateful to spend time with you and hope you enjoyed it. If you want to join a credit union, choose us. With love, until the next time, First Class Credit Union.